I know a lot of programmers from way back when. They're now plumbers. Actually, some of them are just retired now because during the tech shakeup when they shipped everything overseas, a lot of people didn't stay with it. Obviously, I've been in it and stayed with it like forever. So, what this meeting is about is AI for the office, family, and coding, all on a budget. There's reasons for that. In this agenda, I'm going to talk about briefly what I really want, budget targets, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of these other items here. There's a sheet out here. We'll go over that towards the end on selecting LLMs. Who here doesn't know anything about AI? Show hands. All right. So we all know what an LLM is, right? All right, cool. How many do coding here? All right, good question. All right. So what I'm going to cover everything for like somebody just starting out. I'm new, have a business. I hear all this hype, all the way into actually coding and my philosophy on coding with AI. So basically, I did a couple presentations. One on building a home lab, where I used to have these desktop Xeon servers. They chew a lot of power. They're big, they're heavy. Naturally, it does wonders for the electric bill. And why is our electric bill so high? 100, yeah, that you can guess the rest. So I actually have converted my entire system to mini PCs. And the mini PCs, in many cases, but they're way more powerful than the 2010 Xeon boxes I had. However, when we get into AI, what we really need here is something like this. All right, if I can find the link, this scatters them all over. There we go. So we all know AI needs the GPUs. They need that VRAM to run all the calculations parallel. You can't do it with normal compute from the CPU. Okay. What we have here, I shun Apple. They've got some people tell you, you get an Apple this, you get an Apple that, and do unified. There are certain cases you can spend a lot of money. If you're going to spend a lot of money, you do something like this, DGX Spark. This is the first generation of this. They're now coming out with these laptops soon, but this is the Spark here. Okay, and it's pretty sweet. What's even nicer is, let me drag this out of the way. Oh, okay, all right, yeah. Asus is now using the same motherboard and chips. Okay, this is all part of the Grace Blackwell 10 series of chip. It's actually a combination of the CPU and the GPU, for lack of a better explanation. If you want to learn more about it, the links are here. And unless you're an electronics geek, just generalize. Because these machines here from Dell, Asus, NVIDIA, and HP, and Lenovo are the only machines right now that are GV10 based. Okay, and what's nice about them, it helps if I share the picture, doesn't it? Okay, we're not watching the video. Point is, these come with 128 gig of the memory, which will run unified. It basically is kind of the unified memory, similar, not the same, that Apple's moved to. Okay, which means all that RAM, if you're using DDR5 RAM and all that, it takes and turns it into VRAM. For lack of a better, that's a simplified explanation. These are designed to work in petaflops for speed inside, the whole 9 yards. However, when I get into models in a little bit, let's do that now. How many think there's maybe 50 AI models? Give me some numbers. What's the highest? Huh? How many? Take a guess. A couple guesses. Shout them out. 15,000?
There might be millions.
You're low, except for somebody who said millions. Now let's go over here to Hugging Face. Huggingface.co, which is still blocked in some places. It just was recently unblocked at FGCU. There were ways around it for us, I don't know. You look here, we are real close just in Hugging Face of 3 million models. Okay. Now, models, a lot of them are specialized. They have different, and a lot of these are generative AI. I don't know of many yet that are, there's a bunch of little theoretical things going on like hierarchical. We won't get into that. That's all these philosophies of how they're writing and creating the models. But 3 million models is a lot of models. Okay. So just keep that in the back of your head. We're going to return back to this section in a little bit. So there's all that equipment. When you get the presentation, these links will be in there. Actually, these links, not these links, but there's other links later that are on that sheet. But when we send out this presentation, and it'll have these links in it, and you can go click and read about the architecture if you're geeky enough for that. Okay, but you can't always get what you want. That's what I want. It's only got 128. What I want to do with a model, is going to require probably the third and fourth generation of these. So we know how computers went. We started out 2, 4, 8 gigabytes and up. Well, this starts at 128. My guess is the next one will either be 256 or 512. Okay, of memory that you could run to hold the LLM.
Which one do I want? For small business.
For a small business,
Yes.
none of them right now. And I'm gonna get into. I'm getting to that. This is what I want, but it's not there yet. Okay, I'm getting there. Let me progress. Okay, so the other reason is that DGX Spark is about $5,000.
I ain't got them money.
Exactly, that's my point. So you can't always get what you want right now. At some point, let me jump back here just to give you a quick idea of where we're going on this. Back here, it's the wrong one. I've got so many windows open here that I need. Here it is. So let's take a jump over in Hugging Face. Here's this is a Neutrino, the Nemotron model from NVIDIA. Okay, if I click on this tab here, this particular model, if you look at the file size, eyes are going blind here, you'll see it right here, 47 gigabytes. That's a pretty small, it's a decent model. It's a little bit of a small model. I'm going to talk about this guy more later. Let's look at its bigger brother that I'm using right now. So if I jump over here to file size, that's over a terabyte. So you're going to need a good 1.5 terabytes of VRAM to stand this puppy up. Not only the cost of the machine, you can imagine what the electric bill will be like. Okay, so, okay, well, that's what I want, but I can't afford it right now. And they don't make what I want right now. I could make one, make a thread ripper and buy all the GPUs and stuff. It's not worth the effort right now. That, and I would have to deal with this. Jason's not here. This is, if Amazon didn't pay for Jason's bill, that would be Jason's wife and kids. Jason has done, who here doesn't know who Jason is? All right, Jason done a couple presentations here. He's with Amazon, and he does a lot of AI coding with AI for his department. But they're also, all those machines are living in AWS to start with. So you can guess that Amazon has kind of access to all these. But he's been known to spend, I was going to hit him up for prices. He's literally done $1,000 in a day running AI to code. All right. You know, he's running Claude full out on a project. Okay, so that's what happened. And when you're using something like Claude, and there's people doing that, they're renaming Claude, or they just renaming a variable, and they're using Claude to go rename that variable. Okay, maybe if you're Trump or somebody else, you could do that. Right? I'm going to focus on this budget here: $10 a month, $20 a month. That sound reasonable? That's a streaming service, right? Okay. And it's all going to come together. All right. First thing we're going to talk about, this is the one you'll probably be interested in, sir. Chat LLM, or Chat LL Teams, as it's been called. It's by Atticus AI. Okay. I'm not going to read these verbatim. You're going to get the slide deck, but it's an all-in-one platform. All right. I've got like multiple slides on what it does. You can do teams, you can do individuals, you can do enterprise. You can do an enterprise. I think the enterprise account starts at like 5,000 a month. Okay. I'm staying with the 10, 20,000. All right. It's multi-model access. Okay. Top of the line models, decent models. You have chat, you have a productivity assistance, you have coding support, and it's all going to get pulled together at the end. You have all this. You can do agent. But basically, cost structure wise, basic is $10 a month. Pro is $20 a month. And here's the beauty of it. There's months where I might not need it. I have a $20 a month account. You can downgrade from go back to the $10 and jump back. Me, I had in the earlier days of all this, I had a chat GPT account. Well, I was using this all the time. And I said, why am I paying $20 a month for chat GPT? Well, when I went to leave, they told me, the screen goes, are you sure you want to leave? It says, you can't come back with this email account. You'll need a new email account to come back. Unless they changed it when I left. Huh? It is yes. Unless they changed it, it was like, you can't use that account anymore. However they set it up. I would have to use another email account. Naturally, I have multiple email accounts. My hacker is magicblackkilo@gmail.com. Okay, and it goes back to April Fool's Day 2004, actually, when one of the first accounts. So let's go to the live tour. Now, we'll start with the website. Let me find it here. Control Alt. And let me get it here. It is in this one, I think. No, it's over in. So they never keep them in order. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try that one. Nope. I'll find them here in a minute. There we go. We're on slower internet. All right. This is what the website looks like when you go to it. All right. And it's kind of your normal chat. You have the chat here. You have your model selector here. This is Route LLM. And these are the many models you can pick from. Route LLM itself. If you don't know what to use, you write your prompt and you turn it loose and it'll decide what's the best model to use. All right. You scroll down here to the very end. Okay, it doesn't cover those there, but there are other models. You can create your own models. I'm not going to get into that at the moment. You can do chat. You can do agents. You can do custom bots. Okay. You have these apps that you can go to. So down here, there's a whole thing. They have a lot of pre-done stuff. Like you can scroll through here and go, hey, I want to build a mobile app. That's for apps. If you go over here to featured, they've got all kinds of stuff in there. Agent Swarm. You could do multi-agent coding in Swarms. There's all that where they will preset it. They have these starting points to get you set up. Sheets. you work a lot with spreadsheets and stuff. There's a lot of stuff there that you can do your spreadsheets with. And you can get into designs, slides, code, AI workflows. You go down here, there's all kind of goodies. You can do videos, you can do research where they guide you through it. Okay. Now this is for $10 a month. You have all this. Now there is a caveat. You have to have the pro version to actually do like this here. Here's supercomputer. There's also Hermes. Chris has been playing with Hermes. I have OpenClaw set up. And after tonight, that OpenClaw will be shut down and the one on my server will be shut down. Okay? When you use one of those agents, you will spend some money. Yes. Yeah. So when you do it through here, you have certain limitations. I believe with chat LLM, you can't go to where on like your laptop, we're using standard IO type stuff on the file system. But there's various ways of doing things because this is the web version here. However, if you look here, there's also a desktop version. It installs a desktop version, and from there, it installs a VS Code extension. It also, on your machine, it'll also install a command line interface, like you might do, who knows, raise your hand if you know Olama. Okay, Olama is the one, a lot of the people who've played with running it at home. You know, you use Olama to stand up and run your models, and you would do that probably on a big server too. Or, you know, if you were building your own Threadripper or something like that. There's a desktop listener, which I did not install it, wanted to, because I don't need to talk to it. Okay, it's bad enough I got to talk to Siri once in a while just to write a text message. Okay, there's a browser extension you can add to it also. But there's all that kind. So you have this desktop interface you can use, or you just do it in the browser. Yes, yes. So yeah, supercomputer, Hermes, and OpenClaw. You can basically do everything. There were certain limitations, or they may have resolved them by now. Everything in AI, they have a lot of documentation. I'll show them that. Everything, and this is the important thing, cost savings. Everything about AI changes from one day to the next. Okay, hence the 3 million models in Hugging Face. All right. So, but there's all that. You can organize in projects. You can organize your chats. Come on. Right. Yes. Yeah, everybody's different. Codex, Claude's got one. Gemini's got one. I just watched the video last night where Claude, ChatGPT for Codex, and Gemini were all compared, and it depends on what you need. I dumped my free, I had an academic account. I dumped it after 2 months for Gemini. I can get at the Gemma model here. I don't need that. And we'll get to that. So there's all this going on. If you go over here, and I'm going to give you a few hints here. Let me see if I can find it. There's plenty of documentation on billing, which is something this gentleman will want to read. Let me see, I had it bookmarked. But if you look here, what's the usage limit on LLMs? The one thing I want to point out is right here. So you get credits with this. However, in addition to Route LLM, GPT-5 Mini, Gemini 3 Flash, Grok Code Flash, these guys right here, and it changes from month to month, except for these guys have changed since I first started. Like originally, GPT-5 Mini was GPT-04 or 04 Mini, and I used that for the longest time because I've been in here for a while, which is one of the things I'm gonna start you thinking about. If it worked, if you got it to work for you 2 years ago, and you learned how to write really good prompts, okay, And that's the most important thing with AI, is learning how to write a prompt. The more explicit you are, the better results you get from a model, which is really important. The reasoning in the older models is not as good as reasoning in the newer models. However, before we had really good reasoning, where it's going to turn around and say, did you mean this? Did you mean that? Had to make sure you had to start with that part. So learning how to write prompts will save you money, because you could use a GPT-5 mini instead of GPT 5.5. Okay, and this is what I'm trying to get everybody to start thinking about. So reading the documentation matters. All right, learning how to do it. Otherwise, you'll burn through your credits. But if you look, I preset mine for GPT-5 mini. And unless I have a reason that I want to kick in and use it for Opus or something like that, I won't touch it. I'll save my credits for when I really need it. All right. Where was I at? Here we are. So I covered that. I covered the website. I covered the desktop, mentioned OpenClaw. Integration we'll get to when I get to coding, when I get to VS Code integration. So now, Open Web UI. Who here wants to host their own stuff? All right. Okay, when I get done, you'll probably all want to do it. You might want to do it when I show you what's going on. All right, Open Web UI has been out for a while. It's open source, has a very large team on it on open source, and it has the interface, all this design stuff. I put all that in there. Sirix NG, for example, I have my own web server running at home. Let's do this real quick. So if I go to search.garlit, that's my search engine. That's an anonymous search engine. I get really good results, and it's anonymous because it's not going to try to tell you anything. Okay. All right. I have this too running at the house. AI.garlit.net. It has security on front of it. If you try it, you'll get hit with a login. You won't be able to get in. This is Open Web UI. Now, this allows me, if I was running a Threadripper in the house, if I was running a DGX Spark at the house and running my own custom models, and one reason I would want a DGX Spark is so I could grab one of these models and train it, remove guardrails, do all kind of stuff. That's the machine you would need to do if you want to train the models yourself. It's one of the reasons for that the Grace Blackwell, or GB10's Grace Blackwell, we call it, system, chips. That allows you to train the model. However, at 128, I can only train small models. What I want to do is train bigger models. So there's no way around it. There are ways that I could go train models and pay a fortune and rent time and a hosting, whatever. I ain't going there. I'd rather utilize what's available for the right price. To give you an idea here, I'm going to go to the admin console here. Admin panel. I use a thing, and we're going to get to this in a minute. See these models? I have access to Grok. Not Grok. This is GROQ. Okay. And I'll show you that link in a minute. And they've reduced the number. I've had it at different times of the day or the week. This number at the top, 349 models, that changes based on what's available between Grok and Open Router. Now, I'm using Open Router, and that's what I'm going to cover next. And that's when we'll start seeing the dollar signs. Okay, there's a lot here. I have models. I have connections. I can do anything I want with these connections. There's Grok with a Q, and an Open Router. This one here, there's Olama, which I might as well rip that out of there. And I turned off I've already turned it off here because I did have this connecting. So right now I turned off, I have an MCP RAG server at the house. I'm in my 4th iteration of it, trying to interface that through Docker and a bunch of stuff. And in there, because I've been trying to create a mini-me to write code, and we'll get into that a little later. But you have these models, you have evaluations, there's Arena, that stuff you don't need to worry about now. There's all these integrations. You can see I have this turned off right now for my RAG server. Okay. It's funny, because my initials are RAG, not Val and Garlit. I just think it's funny. So, but it's RAG for retrieval, augmented, generate, whatever it is. But it's for getting at your files and stuff. If you want to, if you had like billing invoices, proposals and stuff, you could aim your AI at internal documents, in documents. One of the nice things about this is you can also set up, it comes with its own little RAG vector database to do RAG internally. So you can feed documents to what's called a knowledge base. Let's see here. So there's work. Let me go to workspace. So see this workspace? I used to have a bunch of these. If I go edit this right now, that's my prompt for mini-me. Right now, he's using the step fund model. I'll show that to you a little later because it's in my list. But in here, I dictate, this is my prompt on how I want it to work. Okay. And the idea is this with the knowledge base, which I have the knowledge tools turned off right now because I was using it against the MCP. I have some of the same stuff here. Now we're talking like, I have things I've written through the years, papers, books that I swear by, like Code Complete, Steve McConnell's Software Survival Guide. I used to teach software methodology at American Express. So, but yeah, all that kind of stuff. And architectural stuff that I've done through the years. And I have that broken into little knowledge bases here. In my RAG server, it all gets pulled together. And that, you can go back and forth. But you can set up those little knowledge bases. And this gentleman's, what's your business, sir? Oh, okay. But say you had a construction business and you had to make a proposal that you've done through the years, or blueprints or stuff like that on like what it takes to build a house, what it takes to build a building. You can put all that in there, and then the AI could look at your past jobs and stuff like that, and you can go crazy and go nuts analyze. So you could set up a custom bot. And obviously, I was building an architect here, and I still, just alone, this prompt works beautifully. Okay. But that's the kind of stuff you can do here. You can have prompts. You can do knowledge bases. I have a bunch of them, actually. But here's those collections. These are the knowledge bases. Microsoft SQL expert, because I'm also a DBA, it's data architect. I actually put the open web UI docs, and I probably need to refresh it. I haven't refreshed it in a year, just so that it has the updated documentation. But if I ask questions, I can find out. Oracle, one of the Oracle ones, I forget which one it is actually the whole Oracle desktop. If you go out to it, you can pull all those PDFs together, you know, because I was an OCP at one point too. So, but that kind of stuff. So you have everything you can do here. These, I pin these models here because these are ones I'm playing with that I use for everyday stuff. You notice Claude's not there. You notice ChatGPT is not there. Okay. You notice I'm in there. Yeah. Huh? Because I don't want to pay for it. I can pay for it, and I'm going to show you more when we get to Open RIP. You're about to find out. Okay. So I'm getting there. It's all coming together. All right. So there's all the stuff I can do in here. There's so much in here under the tools. You can add skills. Jason did the presentation on skills? Yeah. You can add skills here. I add my skills into my actual code, which I'll cover later. All right. So that's Open Web UI. Now the nice part is that's in the browser. If you look down here, it also has a web app. So when I turn my laptop on, this pops up. It reflects everything from machine to machine. All these have a web app, just like Chat LLM had that. Open Router, let's get to my presentation now. Time check, okay, good. You're better than I thought. Open Web UI had all these features. You can look at that later. I'm not going to go through calendars or automation, but you get the general idea. Anything you could do in Chat LLM, you could do there. But you'll notice I'm running Open Web UI on my server at home. However, I have an API key to Open Router and Grok added to it. And that's when we get to this. Open Router has everything. It's a single gateway, and you can bring your own key. So if you had a Chat GPT key or Claude key, you could go to Open Router and add that in there too, and that would centralize. So if you were a business and you had the chat Claude, let's say you had Claude. Say I was FGCU and we wanted to reserve Claude only for the programmers, okay? We could use Open Router, which is blocked right now. We could use Open Router with an API key and put our API in Claude, and then through the management section of Open Web UI, or in this case, Open Router's management section, I can set up a workspace for the developers, and they're the only ones that get Claude, yet the faculty might get ChatGPT, because they demanded it, Remember, every LLM has its specialty. We're getting closer to that list you picked up. But it has unified billing. You have all that stuff you would need to do, cost optimization, just everything you need. I'm going to show you what you need. So I'm going to start with the browser, the main interface. Actually, I'm going to go to the web app. Here's the web app. When you go to it the first time in the browser, who here doesn't know what a web app is? Good, okay. So once you go to Open Router or Open Web UI or Chat LLM, you can click the little button to get the app, and it puts it, you can tag it in your tray, and you're good to go. So if you look here, you have a thing called workspaces. And there's workspaces, I only have the one because I only pay for the one key, and you'll see the little graphs there. I'll go back to those in a minute. You have all this stuff for management here on the side. You have apps you can get at. There's all this documentation. Quick start. If you want to write Python, they give you the idea on how to access it for Python, stuff like that. But back here, let's go back to the beginning. That's the home. That's where you start out. This is where I kind of live. That in this tab here. Now, here we go. Garlit. All right. Let's start with the expensive guys. Claude. All right, here's Claude. All these Claudes are available. All these Anthropic LLMs are available. Now you notice, you see this guy, Claude Opus 4.6 fast, he's leaving June 29th. Okay. If we go up here, who's the latest? 4.8. Let's look at 4.8. Can you guys read that from here? It has a 1 million context. It has a $5 for a million of input tokens. We all understand tokens? Everybody understands tokens? Okay. Wait a minute. I'm going to show you some of that here. And then for output tokens, $25 a million. Ooh, baby, smoking, huh? All right. Is Claude? At some point, I'm going to ask if it's ordered. Let's go with GPT-5. Let's go for GPT. I better go like GPT. That's Anthropic. I want OpenAI. OpenAI. No, here's 5.5. little over 1 million context window. Hey, it's $5 input token. $30 output token is 1 million. Okay. All right. If I say some of these are chatty, you understand what I mean? Raise your hand if you don't. Okay. All right. Step fund, one of the step fund models that I like for coding, they're also very chatty. Okay. Some of these others can get very chatty too. Like, they've been trying to rein in, like, for some, depending how you use Chat GPT and how you use Claude, and even Gemini, depending on what you're doing, they can get really chatty. Okay. If they get really chatty, those output tokens go up. Great way to make some money. Actually, you're burning a lot of power too, but get the idea. So, hey, so here we have right below it, who here has ever used GPT open source? 120B. This has been out for a while. Anybody here use it before? Okay, it's known as a dense model, right? Yeah, it's a dense model, or is it sparse model? Like the words of that. I'm dyslexic. So yeah, it's either dense or sparse. We get them confused. But yeah, it's one of those two. But look, 0.3 cents, call it 4 cents for input tokens, 18 cents per million output tokens. Oh my. Well, that's pretty cheap. It's still the foundational code that 5 has underneath. But, as you can see, if I can click on it here, let me open this up in Edge. You can read about, it talks about the model. It's 117 billion parameter model. It's a mixture of experts, which is pretty cool. We won't get into the specifics. It has active 5.1 billion parameter model or parameters. And it goes and talks about different things with it. Well, here's what I want to start to show you. All right. If you look here, and this website updates, they keep changing all the time. But if you look here, there's my input output prices. Okay. There's my context. That was the date it was released. And that's the knowledge cutoff. We understand knowledge cutoff? That's when the knowledge is. That's why, just for a quick show here, if you go back here, you see this? I can add tools, but I hit web search. So if I was going to use 120B and I wanted to make sure it didn't get nailed by the cutoff, I make sure I engage web search so it can go out and look for anything that cutoff doesn't have. So that's a good thing to have. In this particular case, you can set it up for multiple search engines. Right now, I have it pointing at Google search engine. I could hook it up to my search XNG. I just haven't got around to it because I'm fine with what it's been doing there. So, but you see where I'm going with this. So, important to write a good prompt and you choose a model for what you need. Okay. Now, let's go back here to, let's look at OpenAI again. Let's open it up. And you can see there's that $5 and $30 there, 1 million contexts, and so on. Let's jump down here. It's not going to show me it. Okay. Leave it to me to pick a model. All right. I'm going to go back here and let me show you something first. As you note here in my models on the side, I actually favor the NVIDIAs. Okay. I've been chasing Nemotron around and using it for lots and lots of stuff. As you can see right now, I can use Nemotron free. The free one runs a little slower. Okay, it has a few limits on it on how far I can push it, but oops, where is it here? Back here. I thought I had him pinned. So let's go here. So here's all these free models here, but if you look, that's Nemotron Ultra that I have it set as my default for free. However, if I need more speed, if I'm doing some serious coding, I could pay for it too. So if I'm working on some code, and all of a sudden the limitation, I hit my limitation on the free one, then I cut it over the pay one in, 50 input, 250 output. Okay. Who here knows what prompt processing is? Who doesn't know what prompt processing is? Well, let's see hands. Okay. When you write a prompt, that prompt, every time you talk, everything that you did before it in the context and that prompt and any additions you add to the prompt goes up. Guess where that gets billed at? Okay. Not that. That's the prompt processing. And the speed of those, if we were going to stand up our own models, we could have a heyday just talking about that. But I'm going to jump over here real quick to my workspaces. So right here, here's my workspaces. So right now, I haven't been doing a lot, okay? But you see here for this week, and this is a 7-day count, I've done about 60, call it 60 million tokens I've used across these models here. However, that's all I've spent this week. So if I keep it in there, what am I going to do? 20 bucks a month? If I was using Claude with those prices you saw, or Chat LLM, you could do the math. This is where your cost savings comes in. Knowing what you're using, call it the right tool for the right job. Well, how do you know the right tool for the right job? Well, I'm going to jump over here, and I don't think it's going to show it. Let's look at this model. I've used this. This is Llama 3.3. If you look, it came out, oh, they updated it in October. Okay, originally it was out before that, and I guess they made a tweak to it. Yeah, one. So with version 1, not 1.5, it was out of March. And then they did some tweaks to it and re-released it October 10th. Okay. I was using that for the longest time. I was using it for a lot of stuff. If I click on benchmarks, you see this gold, these colors here? Doesn't look too good, does it? Well, 2 years ago, that was writing really good stuff. The model hasn't changed. Just other models have gotten better. But I got what I wanted out of that because I knew how to write a decent prompt. Okay. All right. You can see for coding wise, this is where the sheet comes in. If we look, we have the intelligence index. So if you go look for the artificial analysis intelligence index, if you go to the 4th column, basically is how smart the model is overall. When it comes, okay. If you look at artificial analysis coding index, it's basically is how well can it act like a helper to get things done. And this is a rating. Now, these ratings are dynamic. They actually change from day to day. I have models I've looked at where they were green one day, got up, drinking my tea in the morning, let's see what's happened. Well, because another model came out with a higher rating, the numbers stayed the same, but the color changed. It went from green to yellow. And some of these go from green to yellow to red. The model hasn't changed. It just means there's another model out there better. Because you see that hump in the middle where the arrow is? So when this first came out, it was up here. Because newer models are coming out every day, he got pushed out. But 2 years ago, this was doing wonderful stuff. Now, I keep following the Nemotron stuff. Let's see, which one is this one? This is Super. Yeah, Super. So Super came out. It was re-released here. This was March 11th. I was using another Nemotron before that. I didn't pull him up here, but March 11th, Nemotron 3 Super came out. Look at the price on that, 9 cents and 45 cents. Okay. If I'm using it for coding, those numbers went up. You see where it is? It's on the other side of the hump now. As of today, this point in time, and it could change tomorrow, this little mark here might move down because ChatGPT might release ChatGPT 5.8. Okay, and that'll cause this to change and shift down. It's still the same model. It's still this 40, but at this point, even with 40 here in the agenic index, it's still in the top 60%. Okay, so it's how to interpret these. Now, I'm going to jump to the other one. The other day, this one came out, June 4th, and I'm loving this one. Huh? Yeah, these things come out like that. Actually, June 4th, there was a June 4th, it's gone already, but you get a bunch of free models, and I haven't shown you all those yet. But if I jump over here real quick, okay, is it this one? Here, and I digress. Friday wasn't June 4th. Friday, I realized I checked it and I go, oh, this is going away. It came up on the 4th. You know, I know you. But it's going away because these companies will release the model, and sometimes they don't release it with their name. Okay. First of all, because they want to throw it out there and they want to test it. Gets rid of it. Now, Sourceful, Riverflow, there are some younger versions, 2.0, that you can pay for that are on Open Rabbit, and I've used them. Well, I said, let me try this out. It's free. They're not charging. They do 2 versions of it for me to play with for a couple days. Well, let's see how good it is. Where is it here? Oh yeah, so I have a couple prompts. For those of you know, I'm on a Skynet kick. You know, that's what my open claw is called. That's getting turned off tomorrow. Okay. I also have a HAL one. The one on Chat LLM's name is HAL. The one that's running on my server behind all the firewalls is Skynet, and he's behind the firewalls for reason. Okay, but if we look at this, it's pretty sweet, huh? Let's go back. Great detail, huh? I got all these prompts I gave it. So this was, I had it give me an idea on a lab, you know, where they're building them. And this one's a defect. It thought to do that all by itself. I didn't ask for a reject in my prompt, but it got carried away in building these. And these are pretty sweet. Look at that detail. All right. But so I got to play with this for free. All right. There's another video. This is I'm a geek. Yes. This was my attempt to build a sovereign. It was supposed to build a sovereign, but that looks more like an NX class. Star Trek geeks here. Not just a couple. Yeah, well, we're getting there. I got Star Wars prompts too. Millennium Falcon, there you go. I had to have the Millennium Falcon put in there. What do you think? I think that river flow did pretty good. You know, and that was all the river flow. This, wait, okay, this one I paid for as part of the joke for work. In the humor, in the news and humor in our little group. You're not in that group, I don't think. But yeah. So this one has sound. What happened to the audio? Yeah, but that's all right. That's all right. You don't need it. But yeah, there's that one, but then there's this one. So that one, this one cost me 5 cents on one model. And then I tried another model and that cost me 84 cents. I figured I'd spend $1. You know, Barry started it. Okay. Need I say more? Yeah. Barry has this thing for Gemini, but he doesn't want to pay for it. He wants to use the free one. And the way I keep telling him how to write prompts, you know, he says, you've got to write in this way. And I go, what was the prompt? It was like one liner. He said, need I say more? I can't get it through. But at any rate, so there's all that. Yeah, I had to do Darth Vader. There's some more Cyberdyne stuff. There you go. Yeah. But you get the idea and everything. So there's all that going on. Oh, yeah. We didn't see this guy. There it is. That's Skynet, baby, in Cheyenne Mountain. For those of us who are Terminator fans, that's deep under Cheyenne Mountain where NORAD is, underneath NORAD. Yeah. But yeah. 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 Me and River, whatever it was called, Riverflow or, yeah, Riverflow. Me and Riverflow took that picture. Okay. But you get the idea. Now, where show you, because right over here, you see this here? See this model search? Well, in the morning, when I click in to see what's happening, it's set for newest. So these are the newest. If you look, that's a June 9th. That's a June 9th. Claude Fable latest. What's that, role play one or something? But if you get through, you start looking, but you can see how they're rated. Okay. Now these ratings are partly based on what's going on Open Router, partly what's going on with another set of resources. I'll show you in a minute. Here's Riverflow Pro Flow. They released it. Okay. It wasn't here yesterday. Today is the 11th. So they took it down on the 9th and then they set it up. They probably spent yesterday setting it up and then they turned it on today, even though it was released on June 4th. Okay. But so now I'd have to pay for it if I wanted to use it. It starts at 13 cents an image. See it there? Up to 17 cents an image. Okay. But you see how I'm seeing the numbers here. All right. As I scroll through it, these are all the newest models by date. And you'll see there's the Nemotron Ultra. It's free. And there's the paid one. So let's do this real quick. Free. If I type here for free, these are all the free ones at this minute in time. So these are all free models you can engage and play with. Okay. All right. So those are all free, which if you had open web, I would just go up here, go in and search because I have it linked in and go free. And then I could plug those in, whichever ones I want. We get the general idea. Okay. And if you didn't have that, let's look here at Open Router. Oops. This is still the Open Router's interface. This is the desktop app. Yeah, it's the desktop app. This here sorts the models by types. So if you look, text ones, there's 337 LLMs there. There's 32 image ones. Embedding models, unless you're doing like an MCP with RAG server or something, or if you know enough where you need an embedding model to like slice sentences up for a vector database. There's audio, there's video, ranking, that's more up like the embedded stuff, and then there's speech and transcription models you could use. So you can click and just see those. You can go to here in series and you can look for like, well, if I just want to see OpenAI, GPT type models, if I just want to see the Gemini ones, or I have a particular brand I'm interested in, I can do that here. Or I can go to categories, programming. We all like programming, right? So these are all the key designated programming models, though other models can be used for that. Okay, you see all that there. You see ratings. Now, let's see if it changed. Let's go back to Nemo. Nemo. Oops, wait a minute. I got to clear the whole thing. Let's go back to Nemotron for a minute. Did I type it wrong? No. There it is. So if you get here, look where Nemotron is rated. Number 6 in the list. If we go back to Step Fund, okay, there's these two. This one came out May 28th, this one January 29th. If you look here, this one's rated number 8. Okay, 20 cents, $1.15. Down here, the earlier one, 9 cents, 30 cents. Where's Claude again on that in programming? Let's see, Claude. Opus. Hover. Programming, number 9. Well, that's not far off of the other guy, is it? Interesting. Well, do I want to pay $25 or $1.15? Get where I'm going, people? So learning how to do this. Now, I need to spend a little more time here because I said depending on what you want to do, let's go back to here, get the right one. So that's Hugging Face here. That's more on the technical side. I'll get back to that later. If you want to read the research papers for a model, you go find it in Hugging Face and you go to the model card and you get into here and you can get all the technicals. You can get into Discord. You can go look at the data sets it was trained on, okay, or the information on the data sets. Developer page. Here's the paper on it. So if I go click on this paper here, and this is probably this is the technical paper, research information. So if you want to really geek out, like there's probably only one of us in the room right now. Okay. All right. You get the idea. You more or less, you're going to want to stay over in these here. Where is it here? Is that it? Yep. So let's go back here to Nemotron Ultra. How smart is Nemotron Ultra? Well, I click on benchmarks here. I looked at this as the quick number. That's a 57. Claude might have a 75 for Agenic. But if you look here, GPQA Diamond. Grab your paper, look at it. And look through the list. GPQUA Diamond. That's hard science reason. For the academics in the room, that's the one that can solve very hard science problems. Okay. So that's the rating. Well, he's pretty smart. Okay, that's not bad. Side codes, pipeline side code. You're going to find some of these. If you look at enough of these, you'll notice a trend. You really don't see many of these in the green. Okay. Humanities last exam. Look at that one. Humanities last exam. Can it answer extremely difficult questions? They have a set of questions to see how close you are. Yes, you know. Okay. There's not a lot of them I've seen anywhere near the green yet. You got to hit a certain percentage to get into the green. Okay. Well, you know, he's pretty smart. Look at IF bench. Now we're getting into coding and stuff like that. You look these up, you're like, well, you know, you get to learn these and you go like, well, you know, he's pretty good at coding, bench coding. Okay. So if you're coding, you get the idea. We scroll down here. Here's the important one here. This is what I like to see. And this one's in the green. I'm really happy. Nemotrons really in the green. This Nemotron really jumped into the green from its little brother a little while. Okay. Now, why is that? Okay, what's the difference? There's only a couple months difference. Okay, if you look, this is the hallucination rate. So if you jump to the back, it's in the front. Hallucination rate. I went and sorted this alphabetically like a fool. Where is it here? There it is, hallucination rate. When it's unsure, does it avoid making things up? Because all of these will try and come up with a program, come up with an answer, even if it's wrong. Okay. It says, I'm going to guess and I'm going to all the way up. You get the idea? So at least I'd like to know it's going to tell me that it's like, nah, can't give it to you. You know, where is an earlier chat GPT was like, yeah, it's this. And swear to God, it's it. But it's a machine. You ain't swearing to God on anything. You know, so other things you'll look at, you see this artificial analysis link. This is one of the sites where all this information is gathered from. Did it open? Thought I clicked on it. Yeah. So this is a site I crawl around a lot to do comparisons of things. Okay. You can get in there, you start looking at the models, you can look at the coding agents and find, you know, you can geek out. But this is how you learn, you get into it. There's these arenas. There's another one called Arena something. The link is in the back there, I think. Yes. Oh, this one doesn't have it. I think I put it on. Is there a bunch of links on? Yeah, that's the original one I got. Yeah, so the Arena. Yeah, the arenas, you can go look at that. My point being, you don't have to spend a lot of money. I'm going to jump back here just to show you. So let's go back to my workspace. My workspace. All right. Where's it at? Close that. Activity. I'm going to jump to activity. So here's my activity for the past week. It breaks it out in graphs. Okay. And I can see how I'm using it. But even better, let's go. That was the past week. Let's go to the past month. Look how many tokens I've chewed through. Okay, 207 million. $15.83. It's under 20 bucks, isn't it, people? Do the math. What if I was using ChatGPT? Copilot. When I'm coding, guess what? When I'm using AI to help me code, look how much I did in the past month. It's almost 100 million right there. If I was using Claude, how much is that going to cost? But I write a good prompt, and there's other things when we get to coding, if we can get through coding, which I should probably jump to, but you get the idea. All the tools are here in OpenRouter's interface so that you can make an educated decision. It's TMI. It's very TMI, but like take a full circle back in web UI. If I was setting this up for a business, actually, just like I had a workspace. Where is it here? I had a workspace like this, but I did an experiment with my granddaughter. I took a model that was basically free, and I wrote a prompt. Now, my granddaughter, I wrote a prompt. She's now 8. This is back when she was 7. I wrote a prompt that said she had her own access. She could log into it. And in the prompt, it said she could ask questions. It said, don't give her the answer until after she failed 3 times. But after each failure, I wrote a built ladder. Basically, it said, if she fails, give her something to guide her to the answer, or have to research it depending on the question. I had to rule out the call. Did you get the idea? I don't want to give her the answer. What? So you can take a model, designate it just for that child or that person in your company, designate a model, put guidelines, because you can set up what's called a system prompt and you get, or prompt for certain individuals. You have that control. So in an enterprise environment, if we were to set up open web UI internally, and they gave us a nice server rack, we could designate this model, that model, this model for different things. And we could write the prompts to tailor it, put our own guardrails in it around PII, things like that. That's the kind of stuff you could do in a business or at a university, small business, but you get the idea. Huh? Yeah, well, so you don't need the machine though, because on the bottom here, let's go to hosting. On the bottom, you'll see VPS. Who here does it? Raise your hand if you don't know what a VPS is. VPS is a virtual private server hosted in the cloud. So if I go to Hostinger, so if you don't have a lot of hardware laying around, like me, I still have one of the Xeon boxes up on the rack in the shed, but it's a 2010 machine and it has, too much power for not enough oomph. So if I go Hostinger, there we go. It's a hosting company. So we can create websites, but if we have services here, come on, slow internet. So VPS hosting. Pricing. Oops. Point is, I'm trying to get to the pricing because that's what somebody wants to choose a plan. Here we go. There we go. So you could designate $10 a month for a 2 CPU core, 8 GB, and you could stand up a Docker image in there. You could stand up an OpenClaw in there. You could stand up the web UI. You could stand all that up in 8 GB. You could probably, not the OpenClaw, but you could stand up Open Web UI in that $6.50 one. You could stand it up there, and then you have your API key for Open Router, and then you learn how to set up the admin side of Open Web UI, and you do this at home, and now you can set it up for your granddaughter, your sister, your daughter, your mother, your wife. Set it to block Target. Oh wait, that's what my phone. Target and those places. That's a whole other conversation. Firewalls and blocking websites on your home network. Where the charge cards you get melted down by family members. But yeah, but you get the idea. You don't need to have the equipment in the house. You just pay whatever it is a month. So I believe when I showed the one desktop that I'm using a couple of years ago to replace the Xeon server, cost me $320. 32 gig, decent processor. I have all the Linux running on it. I used to have Red Hat Linux running on it until Red Hat pulled one on me. 32 gig, half of it split up. I have Docker running in there. I have all this running in there. Open Web UI. I have a RAG server that's turned off right now. I have OpenClaw in there, which I'm turning off tomorrow. I have a bunch of stuff. My search engine. I have a whole bunch of stuff running in there because I use a lot of Docker. I have a partition set up. I also have virtual machines running in there. I have a segregated network, which has Calvin, a pen test trending system in there with target images, virtual machine. That was $320. You could do the same thing here and put it in a VM in the cloud. So you're not, and I'm sure I spend more in electricity than that.
So.
Well, I have a machine. I have them on a machine. But see, half of that machine is used for Okay, Kali Linux, if you don't know what it is, some people in the room here, we were talking information security. I've been trying to refresh since I left American Express. Okay, but I have targets, I have a full attack system in there, but I have an isolated network, so I don't accidentally reach out and cut someone. Okay, but that's there. If I was to turn that off, I'd have more room. I'm running virtual machines for all that. But the point is I'm a geek. You're not a super geek, so that's probably fine for you. You know what I mean? So there's your solution. $20 a month. You set up KVM1, and that's what I use. That KVM is the Linux virtual machine. Okay, you do KVM1. You put Open Web UI in it, which is open source. Doesn't cost you anything. You run it in Docker in there, and then you set up the Open Router account, put the API key, and you're good to go. And you have that full interface. And then you can adjust it for the people. And then it's learning how to use that interface to control, because you can put limits on people, but you're only allowed to spend X amount a day, depending on the model. Do you have that kind of control or business for Open Web UI? Okay. It's going to get to coding. Let me jump there real quick. Coding. I used to teach software methodology at American Express. Okay, that was my job. We designed it. This is how you build this, that, and this kind of application. Half a year we would design it. Another half a year we would go around and evangelize it globally. Okay, this is how you do it. This is what, in my case, this is how you build it in Microsoft.net. This is what you can use. This is what you can't use. Not either bad or security issue or whatever. You can imagine American Express. That's what I used to do. So we used to design the starter. Like, here's the template. You go do it. What I do now with coding, if I was doing .NET, I have starter application. I'm talking full solution, back end, web, full line yards. I have a starter template. I haven't, I'm still building out the PowerShell script for that, where it goes in, but I can start with a starter template. I can go in and ask the Copilot, go in and change. I have a list of things you have to change manually. It just goes and does it. This here, since most of the people in here are web people, anyone here use Webpack? All right, Webpack. I have a PowerShell script here, okay? In this PowerShell script, it goes, I'm not going to run it because I already pre-ran it. It goes, it's about 1,000 lines. It goes and builds this. Where is it here? It goes, once you run it, you give it a project name, and it goes, where the hell is it? Oh, right there. So this is it when it first runs. Okay, it's a basic app. It's set up. If you go look at like Project JSON or package, where's the package? Close that. Close that. All right. It builds everything for me. I have all my scripts. There's probably some there you haven't thought of, those Webpack people. Okay, but it builds this whole thing. So if I go run this real quick, I have all the launch settings set up. And let's run this one, and I'll run this real quick. And this gets me my basic app with the way I want it configured and set up the rock. Okay, did it spin up? Here it comes. I'm going to close that. Drop that. Debug anyway. There's the app. Okay, and that's the basic app. All right. Now, works. Hit that. It hit a debug point. See, there's my debug point. It's all set up to run out of the box. It's got my basic pages that you're going to need in the start, and then I go in and start changing them. So I'm already configured. I can jump start an app real quick. Okay, but let's go further. Let's get to the AI part, because that's what you're here for. Well, here's that same app. I just copied it over. Here's the same app. When I use GitHub Copilot, which as of June 1st, May 27th, my yearly subscription renewed, June 1st, they really truncated the hell out of it. As far as, I'm not even going to show you. Like, where is it here? Like this one here is one they give you, because you see it's Copilot there. But all these others, I have Open Router added in. So I have all these ones, favorite models that I like to use are pinned inside here. So I went ahead and I told it, I forget which model I used. I didn't even do that because instead of using the Open Router stuff, I also have Abacus. So Abacus AI gives me 2 AI modules. So when I put the extension in, so I have my choice of my normal chat where I have all of this stuff and then some, access to the 300 and some models in Open Router, or Abacus AI. In your case, say you wanted the code you set up in chat and you said, well, I'm going to have to go over here. You could set this up, these tools, and have Abacus start teaching you. Only I would use the GPT-5 mini. So you get unlimited use and it's not billing against your credits. So if I hit a so I went in here and I told it, Abacus, I said, make this change. I basically told it to add features. I told it to go take the page, turn the features button. I had a features menu. I had it do all that. And I said, go ahead and make the change for me. Add me another page. And it did all this. And in the end, you saw how the other one was, right? So I got a breakpoint here in demo array. So now I'm going to run this. We go back to debug. And the point is if you do a start, you start off. See, I'm real fussy. So like my C, while that's spinning up, my C# stuff that I build, all the modules, I'll have like the basic controller code for an MVC app and all that in there, the way I code. My whole thing is, and which is why I want a DGX Spark and put it together, I want it to code the way I code. Not what a vibe coder does. You're just asking, you're getting potluck. But I know how to code how I want it to code. You can also have it teach you to code, which is how I've been learning Python. Because I'm using Python, as Chris knows, but I'm not a Python expert. So I'm relying a little bit on the AI. I know what I want, and I get it there. So it turned this features, wait a minute, I ran the wrong one. It's because they're the same. Let me close this. Stop it. Stop it. I got to stop the other one first. Kill that. There we go. All right, let's run that again. Because I cloned it. It ran the other one. It's executing, spinning up. There it goes. It's also on the same port as the other one. Close that. Go back to here. Where is it? And I have to tell it to debug now. Okay, see, it's changed. So the other one, this was called features in the original. I went in and told it, said, change that to Bootstrap 5, add me the Bootstrap 5 page. Now, if I go here, I still have that breakpoint set. You see the breakpoint went off. So I can debug. There's I'll hit continue. Okay, so everything's already configured. I can start right away building. And in this case, all I did was go in and tell Abacus, go ahead, add me the Bootstrap page. And demonstrate some Bootstrap 5 features. That'll work, see? Yeah. For those of us, I'm a Bootstrap kind of guy. I've been with it since years ago. Oh, I didn't write this part? Yeah, I did. And that was my point. I was good. I would have run this live if we had decent internet speed. So I went and pre-planned because it does take a little bit of time to run that. Going back to money stuff again. The one thing I wanted to show you over here was go back to here. Remember those pictures I did past week? Let's go here, June 9th. So if I hover over that, oops, see the Video 3 Pro and the Grok image? Those were those two videos. So the one video was 0.52 cents. That was that chump 1 second video with the not so good Terminator. And the 84-cent one was the one I did where it did the justice and turned into a decent looking Terminator that said you will be whatever, I forget what it said. Oh, you will be judged is what it said. But so I have that kind of control of costs. And you, like I said, you can set up those workspaces for individuals with different keys and all that. And I'm only scratching the surface of here, and there's not enough time, right? So that's it. So thank you, everyone. And I did have all these pretty slides, benchmarks for each one of those on the benchmarks. Now you know why I did the sheet, because we just don't have enough time. Yeah. I don't have the power to do it. I've studied how to do it. I gave up how to do it because I do not have the hardware to do it. You, with the DGX Spark or any of the GB10 systems, you can train the model. And when you go into Hugging Face, you can get hold of all the code for those models. Let's go back to Hugging Face real quick. Well, if I could get a decent one to train, and when people are going to say quantization, I talked about that in one of my previous things. Quantization, once you hit quantization Q4, and I think it's KM underscore M, at that level, the model is still fairly decent. But when you quantize down, it's taking stuff away from the intelligence of the model. Okay. The more you quantize it below that, it just gets stupid. And actually can go into loops and just flip out. So I want to work with a model at what they call FP16 or FP8, which is called for math number like 16-bit, whatever. The higher number quantization. That's when you're talking the model where it's like 250 gigabytes to 1.5 terabytes in size. The bigger the numbers, and that's what I was showing with the tree. I started to show it and I got off over here. When you go back to the Nemotrons, see this 120 billion parameter? That's 12 billion active parameters. This is the base, call it base 16 or whatever. It's the numerical. It's like floating point at that point, for lack of a better description. But if you look at this one for super, that's 120 billion, 12 active. If we look at Ultra that just came out, remember it had the smarter rating, it was all green, and it had the higher numbers. If you look at that, where'd it go? Oh. Nemotron 3 Ultra, here it is. If you look at this one, it's 550 billion parameters, 55 billion active parameters. Okay. Those parameters is how they tweak the model. It's also, and given the size, it has more knowledge in it. Okay, just a couple months difference. And they do a lot of tweaking. We're not going to get, I kind of covered that in that one class, how you tweak, learn to set the temperature and everything like that. You don't need that. You can go into Open Router, you can go into Open Web UI, you can change, you can tweak certain adjustments on how much, where it's almost strict to where it gets in the reasoning, to where it just gets totally fantasy. Okay. But there's all that kind of stuff. We don't need that in this group. You just want to learn how to save a few bucks. Okay. So these are the kind of things I would want to stand up. And until I can afford a DGX Spark and it has enough memory, I'm not going to go for version 1. I might go for version 3 if it's 512, because some of these models are getting smaller. And like I said, some of the older models I'm perfectly fine with. I could stand up if I had a 512 version of Super, and I could get it and train it, add some of my own knowledge to it. And that's where you'll see like a llama and a neat, like that earlier one, llama something, and Nemotron something. Okay, that's where they can combine certain aspects, certain models together. And part of that, you need something like a DGX Spark to do it if you have the memory. Okay, and in this case, if we look at the Super one, this one here is 247. If I had a DGX Spark that's 512, I could go in and tweak that one myself. Okay, get the idea? That's what I want. What I'm settling for is what I should have given them, because I'm more interested in getting work done besides playing. But you know, I hope that was useful. Yeah. So Open Router, you can have your chats, and that's some of the stuff I didn't get to. In Open Router, in the Open Router interface, there's chat. So in here, under chat, I can go pick a model. I can pick a model, and then I can start chatting with it here. Okay. So all my models there. So right now you could pay for Open Router, use Open Router's web app, and you're good to go. And see this one here? Here's one of their experiments called Fusion. So if you want to experiment with models, I'm not going to hit the button on this one, because here you can write a prompt and it'll have Claude Opus, the latest version, ChatGPT, the latest version, and Google's latest version of Gemini, and run the prompt and then gather all the results from all three of those and produce one result. That's called Fusion. This is still partly experimental. It's working good, but I ain't paying for it. But you can choose any model you want. So you can go budget. You can add your own model to it. You can go custom. So you have that just signing up for Open Router. And all you do is pay as you go. I didn't show you the interface. It's really easy to figure it out. You go in, put your card in, add $10, use up to $10. It doesn't take it unless you set it. You go in, add another $10. You know, and actually I'll show you that. So if I go over here to credits, unfortunately my wife can't get at this. You can see I add $10 here, I add another $10 here, I added $20 there, you know, because I was experimenting, doing all kinds of crazy things. But I add it there, but I'm doing it through my Open Web UI. I pay for I can do everything I want pretty much in Open Router, but with the app key, I can use Copilot within VS Code. Okay.
Oh, that's what correct. So you got an API for Open Router.
Yeah, you set up an API key, and that's what workspaces are about. I could set up multiple as a business. If I was FGCU and they were letting us do it, I could set up a workspace for the EA team. I could set up a workspace for which building is IT? I mean MIS, ComSci. Homes are one of those. Yeah, like the engineering building. I could set up engineering, say you can only have this model, that model, and have its own API key. You've got that kind of control. And that's just within here, setting up workspaces and different keys for the different. So as a business or a university, I could set that up. Well, yeah, you have, so in GitHub Copilot, you have, and I closed them all out here. You have ask, you have plan.
Like, you know,
Mhm.
GitHub, like, yeah.
Yeah, well, you can,
You
in
can-
Copilot, you can add in the tools that are in Visual Studio Code, GitHub being one of those. Because GitHub Copilot uses GitHub. So when the agent's running, Copilot's running, when it's making changes to code, so say you don't like the way it's going and you stop it, it has a restore point that's saved in its own little GitHub branch. Locally, it uses a local GitHub on your machine. So before it trashes your code, it has a restore point, so that it can put it back. on. Because I asked it the wrong thing, or I said, man, you're way off. It goes, I'll restore it, put it back. You know, so the agent, the tools are that smart. It's learning how to use the tools. So starting out, you pick what's right for you. So throw $10 at Open Router, go in and play with the interface. Learn about what's going on, see the pricing. Just go to use the free ones first, and you don't burn that $10. Because if you go here and you go free and it changes every day, they're adding stuff. So like I said, look, these are all the free ones. So you could start chatting. If I go here, open this up, and I get, here it is. I'm here, I'm looking at this one. Let me try it out. Let's go to the playground. And you can play with it. And if you like it, then you go back to the chat and say, I want to use that model. And you go find it and you plug it in. And that's just Open Router.
Yeah, we- they want more. And you're having- you're-
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I